Morning, Bill.
Good morning, Bill.
How are you?
Good. How about you?
It was good. Weekend was a little too short, but feel nice and recharged and ready to knock out some stuff for this week. What about you?
Same. It was a good weekend. I spent some time at the pool with the kids and saw a couple fireworks shows and um, yeah, pretty much. But I feel good. I got caught up this morning looking back on my 12 week and then my daily stuff for this week and almost disappeared. It's like, oh gosh, it's like
Yeah.
7:40. I need to put down the planning.
Yeah. What does your big three look like today then?
So I got some onboarding done with Go High Level last week. So I'm actually going to do my second campaign. So I'm going to work on. I did the group last week, and this week I'm going to do the content camp one over there.
Okay.
So got that done. So I'm working on that. I'm working on some proposals for work. I'm actually rewriting a couple of our proposal altogether with the story brand feel on it.
Nice.
So I've got those to work on, and then I've got some planning to do for the Quirk podcast as well. I plan on hopefully bringing some of that over to us because I'm gonna write some invite sales funnels that bring them on, and then on the other side of the interview, talk to them about coming on as a client. So I've got some models that I've been studying that I'm going to be looking at for Quirk.
And for those of us who don't know, right, explain real quickly kind of like what that means to someone who's not familiar with funnels and all of these things.
Yeah, I mean, a funnel's just getting people who are interested to become more interested by giving them some sort of information or giving them something to get more engaged with your brand or yourself. And then once they do that, you start to message them and ask them, what more they need, how else you can help. You're drawing them in from just aware of you to more interested in you down to hopefully getting to a sales conversation with you, which is the kind of the funnel mentality. And the way you do that on a podcast, typically a business podcast, is you invite people on who are potential clients, and we talk about you and talk about things that you overcame and how awesome you are. And then you also look for a little bit of pain while you're going. And then at the end, afterwards, you ask to see, hey, remember when we talked about this thing? Is there maybe an opportunity for us to talk about working together on that? So that's the model that James Cadbury kind of made famous recently. It's been around for a long time, but he's the one that kind of made it famous a lot of places.
And where do people get this wrong? Like when they're trying to do the interview and the funnel thing with the podcast, like where do people break it down and mess it up to the point to where it's not as actionable as it was once upon a time?
Yeah, so two places. Now, first one, hi Mike, how's it going? And Michelle, of course.
Oh, good morning, Michelle.
They don't invite guests that are potential clients. That's the first place they miss. A lot of people just invite people when they want to interview or people that they think what the audience would like, which is a cool thing if you're trying to grow an audience. But when you're trying to grow a business from that, they don't invite the right people on the show. It's not targeted. And then number two is like any other sales conversation. I mean, you would say the same thing, right? They don't follow up. They don't keep in touch with the guest afterwards, and they don't consider it a lead. They consider it a guest.
So do you have any tips or tricks on if you're going to do this kind of thing with a podcast? How do you get somebody on? How do you get to talk about pain without them feeling like, oh, this is a setup. Like I'm just here to be sold. Is there something specific you have to do that?
Right.
Morning, Gabe.
Well, so I think the difference is you treat the person like a guest. You ask them curious questions. You get to know the things that are really bothering them, like a friend would. Mm-hmm. So I would say a lot of it has to do with you have to figure out how to be a good host, and figuring out how to be a good host is a lot like figuring out how to be a good salesman or a good marketer or a concerned actual friend on like a tough subject. I think that's a great way to look at it. Like if I were to go talk about racism with an African American, I would have to figure out how to ask questions in a way that's respectful, right? And not an idiot, but also really serious too. Also be like, hey, look, I really care about this stuff. I want to know this thing's bothering me. What? Tell me about this. So I think it just comes down to, can you turn off your sales hat and actually be a concerned person?
Yeah, that's fair.
Want to know. I think the main framework though is you want to make sure. So I know I was talking to a couple people about this last week who were asking me the same sorts of questions about podcasts. Is, well, I get scared about asking the question because I don't want to look like this salesy dork who's brought them on their show just so I can dig on their pain, right? It's like, well, if you start the conversation genuinely concerned and curious and are asking about things, it should lead to those questions.
Yeah.
It should be a natural progression of, well, what do you do about that? Well, how does that affect your business? What do has that been good or has that been bad? Things like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's more of a mindset than anything.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. With that kind of question very specifically of like, are we allowed to talk about business yet? Because like you see this a lot of time in networking, right? You spend time with someone, you buy them coffee, and then some people are like, I don't know if I can ask yet. I don't know if I can't, if we need to have another meeting or what the deal is, but just ask, right? Like, I mean, the worst thing you do is you ask in a very nice way, and they say, no, that's not really what I'm looking for, right? But just make the ask. Don't make it into something bigger in your head, so that way you stop. Hey, should we talk more about that? It sounds like that might be something you're struggling with. I might be able to help. Would it make sense to have a longer conversation about it? Right? They're in control. They get to say no, which is really, really important.
Right. Yeah, I agree, and I also think the way that I have our particular thing set up is we're not talking about us doing business with you on the show. It's the platform.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but afterwards, absolutely. And I'm of the opinion that if you don't ask in the first email after they get off the show, outside of the thanks for being on the show, I'm big on giving gifts to guests, even if it's small, trivial stuff, just to say, hey, we really do appreciate you being here. Here's something that, in this model, in this particular model, asking, hey, I know you talked about this one certain thing. Is that something that makes sense to talk about with us, helping you out? Because if you don't, it starts, and you tell me the psychology of this, right? Like if you wait a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks to have that conversation, it's almost like that's clear. You'll have to restart the rapport building.
Yeah, it's like when you're, when you're a kid and you go to like the roller skating party, but like you don't roller skate with enough regularity to be any good. So it's not until you hit like the backwards song, and like everyone's got to turn the other way, and it's like a bad like NASCAR race and everyone's crashing, and you're like, oh, I'm finally getting pretty good about this. And then after that, it's like the couples dance, and then hokey pokey, and then the session's over, and it's like, damn. Don't do that, right? Like, don't get good, right? It's like the whole thing is wrapping up. Just ask as a human. No one's expecting you to be Don Draper. Like, just get that out of your head. Like, hey, sounds like you're struggling with this. I'd like to learn a little bit more about it. See if I can help. Would that be worth the conversation?
Right.
No one thinks you're a scummy salesperson. Like you shouldn't feel uncomfortable asking that question if your intentions are where they should be, right? Anything else past that is like limiting belief, and you need to do some journaling. Like, absolutely need to do some journaling.
Something needs to happen.
Yeah.
Well, what's your day look like? What's your big
So I've got a big blocking and tackling hour kind of like right after this, which is nice. I've got a coffee or digital coffee with a new connection, and then I've got a call with a client. So one of the things that I thought about on Saturday and Sunday was we didn't really line up a BIL bet for this week as far as like what we were going to do to be held accountable for. So for me, I'm shifting a little bit to where I'd like to have 5 like conversations each day, like chats and DMs, right? As opposed to doing what I did last week, which was just kind of crazy at the end of it, like way too much. And there was no personality to it. And I was having to skip over, honestly, some replies that way I can make sure that I hit the number and everything. So what I'm going to try to do now is 5 chats in a day, right? So book out, an hour and a half of time and just like hang out and chat with people, do my post, chat, engage, and do all these things in like a lump sum kind of time amount. And so that way I can do it, on like a daily basis, but just try to make sure that I'm having like 5, like kind of like chats and DMs and stuff like this. See if that works.
I love that. Because that's what you're always teaching and preaching to people is the quality of the conversation and the consistency.
Yeah.
Like a little bit every day, a little bit every day. That's the boring stuff, right?
Yep.
But that's how you get it done. I love that.
Yeah, that's the thing. We had a spa day over the weekend, and so Alice painted my fingernails. I've never had my fingernails painted, and so like just now, like I went to go stroke my beard, and I saw like on my fingernails, I was like, oh, whose hand is that? Oh, that's mine. So yeah, we had some epic dad times. So I currently have my fingernails painted. So yeah.
Love it. Dude, I've been so deep in fingernail polish so many times on camera now that when I see it, it's normal for me. It's like, oh yeah.
It was so funny because like Melissa was like, so when does that come off? And I was like, I don't know. I guess whenever I decide to take it off. And she's like, well, do you have any meetings this week? And I was like, I mean, yeah, but they're all going to be via Zoom. I mean, except for maybe one. And she was like, is anyone going to make fun of you for wearing like fingernail polish? And I was like, I mean, everyone would give me crap about it, but I don't think anyone would be like, oh, you're not a man because you're right. Allowing your daughter to paint your fingernails. So
yeah, that's what I've actually still got polish on my toes. It's been there for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, why would I touch it?
Yeah.
And if we do, that's going to be a different style podcast, I guess.
Yeah, but what's funny is like I was just hanging out, and Alice and Melissa were going to have a spa day, and then like Alice was like, hey, do you want to join in? And I was like, join in on spa day? And she was like, yeah. And I said, well, what am I going to do? And she's like, I don't know. We'll just go through it. And it was so nice. Like I would have been so resistant to that idea of laying in bed and getting my feet like rubbed on, and I mean, kind of just dumb.
When you have a daughter, things change. That's just how it goes, right? And I have a son and a daughter, right? So I have both sides of it. But like last week, I forget what it was, maybe Wednesday or Thursday night. And it was Friday. We were watching some ASMR, just like end of day. We were watching one of my daughter's favorite ASMR things. And she's like, I should give you a facial. And I was like, 3 or 4 years ago, I've been like, I was like, sure, bring it. Let's do this. ASMR facial, I'm done. Go ahead.
That's funny.
Like a baby.
Oh yeah, I slept rather well Saturday night. We watched Hamilton twice.
What's that?
I said we watched Hamilton twice. It is. I've heard that soundtrack probably 200 times. Like it's one of my favorite things to listen to with the family in the car, and I've seen it live. I got pretty lucky to get some discounted on some like seats for the one here in Dallas. The Lin-Manuel one, man, is such a far cut above the one even here in Dallas. And the one here in Dallas was amazing. And if I didn't know any better, I wouldn't have any concerns. But like Leslie Odom's Burr is like a whole other level of like Burrness. I mean, it's so freaking good.
Like we're friends, so I have to watch it now just so I can still be your friend. But I'll get my kids into it, but we'll see.
Man, so like as a kid, I really liked musicals. Like Danny Kaye was like my jam, right? So White Christmas and Court Jester and The Music Man and all these things I just grew up watching. So I've had a long love of musicals, and so then this comes out, and I was strangely reluctant to it, which is weird because I'm a big hip hop fan. And Melissa, we were on a road trip, was like, okay, you just got to listen to this, and so I listened to the whole thing, and I was like, oh, damn, like this is legit. And then like Alice knows all the words to it, and then Christmas present last year was Hamilton tickets, so I mean it's been a pretty big thing. So yeah, we've watched all 3 hours of it twice so far since Friday.
All right, it's on my week now. I just wrote it down as a task, so it's going on. I like musicals too. I just don't go find them, But in person, I actually really enjoyed them. On TV, not as much.
His ability to show the different styles of these like different characters by like how they rap and like kind of make it, because they're all tied to like major rap figures, right? Like in the day, and you can hear it in their style if you're like a really big fan. And man, it's so good.
Okay. Yeah. Because you're hyping it for me now a little bit.
Yeah,
I like that. Okay.
It's good.
Okay.
Really.
I'll go back. Okay, cool. So we need to make bill bets then.
We need to make bill bets. I'm going to get my closer course outline done this week, right? Everything that I want in it. So if you are interested in being a closer and there's gaps in your knowledge, please send them over to me in some way, shape, or form, so that way I can put that together. Excuse me. so that's my kind of like big project this week. I'll be working with Melissa on the other content stuff that you and I had talked about last week as part of our 12 weeks. I don't really know what the BIL bet for that looks like yet because there's another person, Melissa. So I'm just going to try to make sure to be available for her. And I have takeout trash on here because I've got like just like a bunch of little bitty things I need to catch up on and stuff like that. So, yeah, that's kind of what this week is.
So should we put the bet around one particular thing? That way we're not so worried about.
Maybe, right? Because like I still want to do the 5 chats a day, right? And so maybe my thing, right? The KPI, the thing that I have control over, is how much time I put on the schedule to go be on these platforms, right? So I think that I need to have my closer course outline done by Friday, and then I need to have probably an hour each day on each one of these platforms. 1 hour on LinkedIn, 1 hour on Facebook. Because I've been kind of neglecting LinkedIn here lately. Just because it feels like Facebook is just easier. You know, there's this weird transactionalness to LinkedIn, which I find very, very interesting in my conversations. Whereas like in Facebook, people will go away and then they'll come back. And it feels more social than LinkedIn is. And I don't know. I don't know how purposeful that is, but I think it's really rather interesting.
Yeah, I agree. Definite personalities for sure. I think you just have to approach your conversations differently. Not necessarily the language, but the way, like your own thought process about it. Because I feel the same way. Like I'll go to LinkedIn, I'll have a conversation. I won't go back and check the DM for a day or two because it may be a day or two before people respond there. Whereas on Facebook, I put something up, I kind of have to hang around because there's going to be a response pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. You know, it's crazy because you would think it would, or I would think it would go the other way, especially like around business, right? Because you know that would just be kind of like how I would think it would go. So it's kind of surprising me that it didn't go that way. And maybe it's indicative of my circle of my network that I'm building on there. You know,
it could be. Sure.
There could be socials that are just like Facebook, right? With that speed and walls downness, you know, that I sometimes see in Facebook groups that I don't feel like I ever see on LinkedIn, because like I feel like on LinkedIn everyone's playing a part. You know, everyone's trying to be like the guy or the person at the networking group who's really, really busy. Oh, like how's business? Oh my God, I'm so busy. It's like, well, you still made time to come to the networking group, so how busy are you? You know. I feel like there's more of that on LinkedIn than there is like genuine, like, hey, I'm struggling. Hey, this is what I'm working on kind of stuff. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Well, I think my mentality has changed over a couple of years on LinkedIn, from start on LinkedIn and end on LinkedIn to start on LinkedIn and bring them over to Facebook or Instagram so I can get that walls down relationship. And it's like it's more like I'm starting the conversation on LinkedIn and just keeping a presence there and bringing them over so that I can have a real conversation on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
And anytime I'm ever on a podcast as a guest, or anytime I'm out doing anything and they ask me where they can find me, I'm like, you can talk business with me on LinkedIn, or we can have real talk on Instagram. That's what I just and that's the two I keep up, because that's my two favorite.
So I think that sometimes when I'm on podcasts, the call to action gets a little watered down, because like I'm trying to get 3 to 4 of them in there, right? Well, I'm here and I'm here and I'm here, and check out the podcast. I think that what I need to do, right? Because you and I have talked about Tap a Mic, which is this kind of cool like bio tool for like Instagram for people like us who've got different projects going on.
Right.
But what I want to do is I want to make that really like even easier, because like I think Tap a Mic only works on Instagram, right?
Yep.
So, you know, I might do something, I don't know. I need to build some sort of like central kind of like landing page that everybody goes to, so that way you can find out everything. And I've gone through versions in my head of like, okay, I need to build this, but then I get stuck in the design portion of it and it kind of falls apart. So
yeah, I think this is a good thing to talk about for people listening too, is I'm a huge proponent. I've always been a huge proponent, not a great practicer, but a huge proponent and trainer of one funnel, one message, and then let people self-segment. Because that's the way because if you're on a show, you go, just go here. If you want to find me, go here, period. And then when you get there, you go, are you interested in being a closer? Are you interested in learning more about your own techniques? So you want whatever, like whatever the three, like the pain points, right, that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
That's the three ways you segment. And then, so if you want to hear my media, because here's my podcast channel. If you want to hear my, my opinions, here's my articles. If you want to work with me, here's my website, or whatever, like whatever that looks like. Because then, and especially, so I'm going back through all the Don Miller stuff because I'm getting certified. So I'm going back through Business Made Simple, Marketing Made Simple, Proposals Made Simple, all that stuff. And one of the big things he says is if people can't memorize what your tagline is or your company name, that's why I spend a lot of time thinking about my company name. If they can't memorize it, it's not something they can spit back to you, then you are failing your customer because you want them to remember you when it's time to come to sales. So that's why the stupidest, simplest company names and taglines, Geico, take 15 minutes, saves you 15%. Yeah. That intentional. And it sounds really simpleton, but it's how people think, right? And so I've been really kind of going through that in my head, thinking about you too. It's like, how can John Small Mountain be the thing? John Small Mountain, I can remember. People call you Small Mountain who don't know you that well, right? I've seen people in different spots be like, "Oh, it's Small Mountain,"
Yeah.
To me, like that's where I'm trying to get to here too, is just impact over retention. Everything's impact over retention. And if you want to find me, impact over retention, and then segment.
So, do you think that like Small Mountain then becomes like the tagline, or do you think that Small Mountain still needs to? John Small Mountain, he does X.
Yeah, because Small Mountain's your personal brand. It's who you are. And so if someone sees you and that's who you are, then that's what you need to tag them to because that's how they're going to remember you. And then you let them decide, where do I want to go with this? Especially if it's at the top of the funnel, by all means, it needs to start there. If you're closer to the bottom of the funnel and you're at an event and people are asking about how, that you can help their team with this certain thing, you might go, okay, well, you can go straight into here. This is, adaptive growth. I've got this thing going on, blah, blah, blah. But they already are interested. You're not selling them, per se. You're not bringing them down a funnel. They're already in the funnel. You're trying to close them. So, but I think most of us treat all people like they're already in the funnel. Like, and we're trying to pull them versus most people know who I am. And if they do, they really don't know that much about what I do. So let me just sell my personal brand. And then when they become interested, make it really easy to pick the thing that the pain point they want to go down the path.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I need to work on getting people into one central location, right? Like one page. So that's going to become probably a focus because, as I've said, I've tried to build this out 3 to 4 times and then I hit the design portion of it because I'm not happy with how it looks. And then it just kind of falls apart because I'm not a design guy. But I would like one page that talks about all the different projects, talks about this and the throwdown and adaptive growth and John Small Mountain, and has got links to sign up for those things off just that one page. That way it's really consistent.
One tweet there, right, is we don't, the best way to do that is not talk about what your projects are. They're about what their pain points are and click.
Yes.
Not, I do adaptive growth, I do sales throwdown. It's like, do you have problems with X? Go here. Do you have problems with Y? Go here.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and that's the same as having a good 30-second commercial, right? Like no one cares about your company or when it was formed or anything else like this. Like, how do you help other people, right? Because when you can focus on that and talk about like, hey, I help people who are frustrated with X and concerned by Y and really irritated by Z, you're going to have a much bigger chance than saying, well, I help people with sales training. Oh, cool. Well, I don't need that. But if you can say, well, I help people who are frustrated by their sales team not producing numbers on a recurring basis, right? There's ups and downs and everyone seems to get it done, but no one really knows when.
Yeah.
If you dealt with that, now we can have a conversation about it.
Yeah, I think we largely, including myself, overestimate the amount of information we think people have when they get to us. Mm-hmm. It's always kindergarten. It's always kindergarten until they specifically say, hey, I'm not in kindergarten. Don't give them anything else but kindergarten. Yeah. But make it really easy once they do. But and then, Michael, thanks. I popped it up there, so I think he saw it there.
I don't think I saw it.
Michael's got a design person if you're interested. But yeah, it's that one page to me is. I've actually reworked my website 3 or 4 times this year to be more simple. I've been removing stuff, removing.
Yeah. We're almost to the point to where I think we need to redo the John Small Mountain site because I don't think it. I think it's a cool looking site. I don't think it does a good job of building a personal brand around me, right? Because like when you go look at personal brand sites, you look at like Neil Patel and Backlinko and stuff like that. It is really focused on the person, and mine is more focused on this John Small Mountain, who's like not front and center, which seems very odd. And looking at the Adaptive Growth website over the weekend as well, we were kind of like, this needs to be overloaded or overhauled pretty substantially. So
yeah, the cool thing too is I think you can create a 2-page website for all your projects, but a 2 to 4 page website for John Small Mountain on the top, right? Which is kind of cool symbolism, right? Because John's on the top.
Yeah.
And then these things are the foundations, the base, the roots of the mountain, if you will.
Yeah.
So it actually even paints a cool picture.
I like that, right? Because there's this idea in Kung Fu is that once you get to the top of the mountain, right, and you're a master, right? In some arts, you can look back down, and it's like you've gotten to the top of a mountain, right? So you're standing at the top of a mountain, and you're looking down, you're like, oh, I could have come up that way. Why did I go up this way? That's so much harder. But then there were certain arts like the art that I was training in, which are very, very, you can't progress until like this is good, right? So it's much more like a ladder approach. But I like the idea of like, hey, look, like this is my thing at the top. Like here's what I'm talking about on the blog, right? And when I'm on shows and stuff like that. But here are the different faces of me, and here's what I work on and things like that. I think that could be really, really interesting. At what point do you think that like trying to like stick to like brand standards and being clever begins to be annoying as opposed to helpful?
On a website or just in general?
Just in general, right? Because like I can come up with like mountain climbing and summit metaphors and analogies until the cows come home, but like how far is good versus...
Yeah, I think most, like 75% of that's wasted effort. I think it's for your own, like, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it's like, I like this, so I'm putting it in here. Okay. I mean, just know it doesn't probably help anything. It may even, here's the line for me. If it hinders the ability for a customer to really, really understand what you're trying to say, if you could say it simpler, you should say it simpler.
Okay, I like that.
That's the main line for me, because because I've been studying copywriting a ton this year. It was actually my number one skill set I wanted to get better at, and I'm really feel like I'm learning a lot. And everybody you study says say less, say less, say less, say less. And not only that, use a $5 word. Don't use a $50 word. Use a quarter word, don't use a $10 word. Because at the end of the day, people are just trying to process information quickly. They're not there to read a novel and be entertained, right?
Does that change at some point during the funnel?
Yeah, in my opinion, you don't want to do any of that on the front of your homepage. You want to make it as clear as possible, the solution you want to solve for them. Like, here's the thing. Here's how I can help. Here's how I can help. Here's the button to help. Front page, done. Come in.
Interesting.
Come in. Right? Because, I mean, if you think about how you do sales as well, right? It's the very first thing you're doing is listing and removing obstacles.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you start there. That's what a web page does. I'm listening. Okay, here's the thing. Let's do this. Okay, come on in. Right? Then as you get further down the funnel, I think the more of that you can show. I think that's where it becomes personal preference. But I like it on social media because you're trying to show your personality and show why you're different than other people. And so injecting your own personality into things on social media makes a lot of sense to me, because as long as you're clear about the concept, like your value posts, as long as you're clear about at the end of the post that this is what I'm trying to convey, if there's personality along the way, to me, that makes it more entertaining and more of a reason to do it. I think that works really well in hook lines.
And what?
Right? Hook, like hooks.
Hooks.
Like email or the top line on a social media post. Like, engage me in a way that makes me go, oh, I think I'm like this person. Right? Because if you can't go, I think we're to a place now, and I think you were complaining about this a week or two ago. It was like in our Facebook feed, it's like, oh, here's one. You sent me the thing about the Ford truck that you saw the ad for, right?
Oh, yeah.
I got the same ad. I never responded to that. I forgot to, but I got the exact same ad. And like, obviously the photo grabbed me because it was a gorgeous truck, but like, I forget the line grabbed me too, whatever they said, but like, everything is an emergency on social media. Everyone's subject lines are like, get this now or die. It's
Well,
like,
so there's I was trying to figure out how this company worked, right? So each sweepstakes they give away a Ford Raptor and $30,000 in cash, right? And it's like I'd seen that before, and then in this ad it was like, look, you don't believe us that we actually give out these trucks, okay? So here are the last two winners, and it showed videos of these people getting awarded with their vehicles and everything else like this, and I'm trying to figure out like how do you do that and just not lose
yeah,
your revenue because it's tied to like an e-commerce store, right? That sells like sun hats, sunglasses, tank tops, and like kind of like beach, like hangout weekend gear. And
yeah.
I'm kind of like, you got to be making money, or else you wouldn't have the ad anymore, right? Or you're really not giving this away, and the whole thing is a front and a fake, which you're going to get found out initially. So, is it just like generating that many people, and then they're selling the data to like make sure that they, yo, James Thorne, but like
Yeah,
you know, like
yeah.
how do you monetize that, and what's the point of it?
So my opinion was that they're not paying for either thing, that they're sponsored. So either the people giving away the cash have a deal with Ford. And of course, when Ford gives away a pickup, it costs them $4,000, right, in
Yeah,
parts. So that's a much less of an ask for if Ford knows what's going on and they get in on part of it, whatever. So I automatically assumed Ford was paying for the vehicle or someone who gets it for super cheap, right? As
yeah,
far as the cash goes, that's the part that was interesting to me is you go, okay, so let's say that's taken care of. 30 grand is not chump change, you know?
no, not at all.
So that was very fascinating. And how, I understand why they did it because you're trying to tie into like this lifestyle brand of beach, truck on the beach, like
Hmm.
sunglasses and then get into your new Raptor, whatever. But I don't know. To me, there's always got to be a way that they're, shortcutting the system. They're not just putting in 80 grand.
Yeah, because I mean, there's got to be something more to it because like I don't imagine. Well, I've been kind of banking on the assumption that these giveaways happen monthly, and maybe that's not true. Maybe they do happen quarterly, in which case they've got exponential more time to get people signed up and stuff like this. So
Right.
maybe they do it just purely off of the ecom revenue. Like those
Okay.
ads drive that many people, and then you give them 10% off, so they more than willingly give you their email address, and then you market every day around like, hey, buy something else, and you get more interest for the Raptor.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're breaking even on that, or maybe it's one of those things to where they're taking that data and selling it off to somebody else to make sure, okay, cool, like this covers our nut on the truck and the 30K each month, and so then we're just getting additional revenue. I mean, data is always for sale.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. That's a good point. I think there's also an SEO trick where you would create websites and link them together and create these circles.
Mm,
Uh, and e-commerce does that very, very often. So I read somewhere that a lot of the e-commerce you see, the stores, are actually just held by one entity that have like thousands of stores who have created a bot to Shopify a bunch of stores. And so they actually, all of them make some money for the same company. And so when you think one store is doing one giveaway, it's actually an entity that has 50 stores, let's say. You know,
oh, okay. Well, that's really interesting. I'm trying to think about how else I would use that idea of like having multiple stores under one because like you almost make it sound like maliciousness like it's like nefarious, but like isn't nefarious if you're really just niched, right, and saying like, hey, like we just do guys t-shirts, and then, oh, we've had some ideas for women's t-shirts, let's do that as a separate brand, right?
it's just a hack. I think it's just a hack.
Yeah, okay.
Because I mean, if I could create a store in an hour on Shopify
Mhm.
and go niche my ads to 38 to 45-year-old entrepreneurial guys who work at home, guess what? My t-shirts are going to be really targeted,
Yeah.
and I'm going to sell more. And I spun up 100 of those stores. Uh, I'm just targeting well at that point, right?
So what if that's what you did, right? So like it's like you start like a guy's t-shirt brand, specifically for guys, right? And then you grow the mail list to like 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever. And then what you do is you target those people on Facebook with a woman's brand that looks very similar, right? But you do it very much around like, hey, get mom a gift that she's gonna love, right?
Mhm.
So then what happens, right, is you're seeing a woman's brand that's very similar to the brand that you like. How are you not going to buy the thing for your wife from the same kind of brand? James, like the food hall on Crockett Street, all owned by one person, except a few of them just us. No way. Is that true?
Yeah, we talked to the guy in charge. We were there last week.
I thought they were all independent in there.
That one guy owns, was it 6 of them, James? And then he brought the other ones in.
I mean, still, like 6 is not the majority in there. I mean,
Well, it is, because I think there's 10 total.
is there 10? I thought there was more.
There's some booths that aren't open.
Oh, and
Stuff that-
I guess with COVID, some of that stuff is shut down completely.
I think it holds probably between 15 and 16. All but 3, he said.
All but
No,
3.
there's
Interesting.
9 in there, and he owns like 6 or something of them.
Hmm.
And he told us that he started it. So
I like that idea, right?
yeah, great idea. So and it's one chef too. He's a chef, but he's a chef owner. So he wanted different concepts for people to choose from. That's what he said. Pretty cool, huh?
I'm either and it might be both. I might be blown away by the like ingenuity of someone who knows themselves that well that I need to have all these concepts. So let's put them in a place to where I can. That might be one of the coolest business things I've thought of for a while. But on the other hand, I'm kind of like, why? Because in that area, the rent is outrageous.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's like $35,000 a month for rent down there. I mean, it's pretty high end. And whenever John Bonnell, like the chef of Fort Worth, right, like can't earn enough to keep his spot there, like I'm kind of wondering why anybody would go back. They sure produce and everything. That's crazy. That's so awesome.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm always fascinated by that sort of stuff. That's super high rent because, I mean, I guess I do a fair amount of business to stay open, right? Because you got to put.
I mean, you have to. You have to. I mean, like, but the turnover down there is so like every time I go down there, and it's like 4 miles from where I live now. So I mean, I don't go down there a whole lot because it's just not my scene, but every restaurant has like changed. I feel like every time I'm anywhere near close to that thing.
Yeah, I feel like about half of them flipped over. 'Cause I used to work down there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's. I always assume there's something I don't know because like
for sure, yeah,
right,
absolutely.
maybe they have a dinner club in the evenings and they book people by the head and people can come in after 7 and have dinner and they can book the whole place or different things you could do with a concept like that make money that you never see as somebody at lunch, So
we should make that a segment on here to where like you and I take a look at a business and we both come up with like 3 different ideas to like generate additional income or growth or something like that. I think that would be dope.
Yeah, we could make that
because I love that idea of the whole food hall is just an idea of showing the versatility of one chef and book me for your next party because I can do it all. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So I stole that from a Quirk client, Magdalena's, who's a Mexican food caterer, and he does a dinner club, but he cooks all types of food, and it's fantastic. And he has investment in a taco place, and he has investment in a food truck, and he has investment all these different things because he loves to cook and he loves to bring people into food. So
check this out, my Michael Peroni, who's I think you watched this on Friday. He's told me about this thing called Frank, and it's over in Dallas, and it's this dinner invite only, and I think it's like $200, but it's like private. It's in someone's home. It's only ever like 8 to 10 people, and the food is supposed to be like next level, right? So you charge like $200. I mean, the guy probably does it 3 to 4 times per week, right? And is just crushing it, like, and that's what is so fascinating to me because it used to be, well, if you want to work for yourself, it's got to be lesser, right? And now there's opportunities like never before to go do your own thing and do it really, really well and run the like build the business you want to build and not have to take any forced losses or shortcuts or anything because you're not under a brand.
They were selling out their dinner club before COVID hit, and they were between 60 to 75 a head, and they came to your home and you invited a party to your house, and they just came in and brought everything and cooked in front of you on the table and like did all the things.
That's
and they selling it out. And that was outside of their catering business. Like they have a catering business for weddings and events and whatnot. And it was doing really well. So, and so we're actually trying to translate that into an online version for a tad less money. because there's still interest there, and they're still filling events, but they're having trouble booking more of them because of everything that's going on. So yeah, we've been working on a concept for an online version that can help out. It could actually maybe stay afterwards and be an additional point of revenue.
There's a wave of that kind of going around like the medical circles. I know this guy James who does like a bunch of like cash pay clinic marketing, right? And one of the first things he does is he invites his owners to start like a buyers club, right? And charge people like $100 a month, and they get all of these benefits, right? And it's like an annual membership, right? But you make the first one just so simple, right? Which is just like a tripwire, and then they stay on the books, but they're getting certain things, and then each time they come in for something, you're looking, it kind of takes on the mechanic model, right? But when you look at how scared some people are just to go to the doctor because they feel like they're not going to be able to afford it, or there's not really value, and does my insurance cover it? It's a pretty great way to get people consistently thinking about like, oh, okay, so
I think the Good RX model. I think that's largely what they've done. The Good RX model.
Oh yeah.
It's a club for prescriptions, and it's like, I can't afford prescriptions. Okay, great. Well, we're going to take the brunt for you and just sign up and they have a free version, which is killer. And then I upgraded this year to their gold version because of the amount I was paying already just for prescriptions. It's like $6 a month or something, and it reduced my percentage on what I was paying by like 60% over the free version, and the free version was already beating insurance. So it was insane.
This is called Good RX?
But it's an app. Look it up on your phone. Good RX. And the free version is dope. I spent 2 years on it at the free.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I like that a lot. I need to take a look at that because of knowing Al from the Throwdown, and he's got cash clinics. Whenever we need anything, we just go see him. Because he's a chiropractor, he's got nurse pracs and everything else like this. But meds are helpful whenever you need them. So, dude, this was long and epic, but
I know. Man, we've been on for 40 minutes. It feels like.
Yeah, I like the stuff we talked about the funnels, and I like the idea of looking at other businesses and ideas about like how to hook people and get people interested and stuff like this. And because like, I think there's a level to it that like people don't understand, because like, oh, well, this is what I do. Yeah, sure. But like, how do you offer that in very different ways to different people? Because, I'm a sales trainer, coach, consultant. But how do I get that out in front of people, right? And the way that I do that is like, look, just start tracking something, right? And if you need help, I've got tools that can do that. And you don't even have to buy them from me, but let me get you set up in a way so that you can start tracking what's happening in your conversations. That way you stop lying to yourself.
Yeah, and that's the side I'm on, right? Simplify your message. Don't talk about all the 6 different ways that you do things to solve a problem. It's like, hey, do you have a problem? I'm interested in solving it. Can we talk more?
Yeah.
That's how you get people interested. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like if that's my message, just start tracking. Just start like so this is what I did on Friday, and I posted this, I think, but it got to the point where like I was just trying to knock out these tasks or my ask for last week that I couldn't even hold it in my head anymore. So I was literally sending the message, making a tally, sending the message, making a tally, but I made sure that I got my 85 done. Was it the most glorious tracking ever? No. Did I learn a lot? Yeah. And so part of it is go do hard things because you're going to learn more from it, right? If I'd only done 45 asks last week, I would not have learned as much, for sure.
And you feel like garbage today.
Yeah, I would, because I wouldn't have any clarity on the far end of the exercise, right? Like when you're doing a BIL bet or an exercise, it's supposed to push you a little bit. It's also supposed to like put you in a spot to like show you how much you're capable of doing, right? Like somebody was like, so you're betting on yourself, but you're betting against because like they didn't really understand like how it works. And it's like anybody can perform under negative reinforcement, right? Like you just have to like gauge the money number up enough so that way it hurts. But the thing is that it's supposed to give you confidence in the long run. So that way you see how much you're capable of doing whenever you prioritize your time and your intention. So that's where the 10, 20, 30% like comes in.
Yeah, I think that goes well with the quote around, how hard will people work when they're not happy at work? It's just hard not to get fired, right? Yeah. So when you do negative reinforcement, how hard will people work? Just hard enough that they don't hit the consequences. But when you put rewards at the end with the consequences, then you've now built in motivation to say, not only do I not want to have to do these things, I get this too.
Yeah.
And then when you tie it back to purpose and vision and mission and all that stuff, boom, dude, it's like rocket fuel. Like you are taking off.
And that's why you need the other person, right? And this is really important, right? Like if you've been watching this show and you're gonna start doing like build bets on yourself, you got to get somebody else involved so that way they can know what your bets are and they have a clear grasp of what your like 3-year and 5-year goals are. So that way when you pick out a bunch of like BS, so that way you can feel busy for a week, your partner can go, how does that get you toward your goals? Because I'm happy to give you a 10% payout, because that's kind of what it seems like you're looking for this week. That's the kind of accountability conversations you need to be having with the people who are really invested in seeing you success. Jake wants to see me crush arguably more than, except for maybe 2 other people on the planet, my partner and my daughter. Right. And I feel the same way for him. So what happens is that like, it's not that I'm concerned about losing the money, right? I mean, at a certain level I am, but I don't want to let my bill down, my buddy, this guy who's like taking time to look after me. So if you don't have that drive, you might be with the wrong accountability partner. So,
right. And most people don't have them, to be honest. Well, let's just say it like it is. Most people don't have a consistent accountability partner. And I think your spouse and your partner doesn't count.
No, not
because that's the different dynamics no matter what. It has to be someone outside of your immediate household.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And here's the deal. It doesn't have to be like a 2-hour long conversation. Like Jake and I both like to talk, and we share like these other circles that we're both interested in. But it could just be, once you're like in the thick of it, it could be a weekly 15-minute conversation. Hey, how'd it go this week? Well, I
have another guy on Polo, Jake Melton, and he and I on Polo keep each other accountable every Monday, right? And it's just a 30-second to 2-minute Polo that says, here's what I'm doing this week. Bro, go get it. Love you, man. Do this thing. That's it. That's our accountability. But it gives me different levels of check-ins. So I know if John's caught up on something, Jake's going to call me on it, right? So I've got these kind of, it's just checks and balances.
Yeah, and in the beginning, this is really easy, and I don't think enough people talk about this. Like, change is really, 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 really hard. Like, it is difficult, and you are going to find reasons to not do it, even when you look back at it and you're like, oh man, that was lucky how that seemed to happen when I was doing this thing that I didn't want to do. It's not luck. It's your mind like making these things happen. So, do the thing that's easy, right? In the beginning of doing like accountability calls and like really looking for that in my life, it was once a week, it was 5 minutes, and it was very low stakes. Like, hey, how was your week? It was good. Okay, what else you get done? This and this and this. Okay, was that enough? I think so. It doesn't have to be like the style that me and Jake do every morning of, okay, cool, like what's your big 3? What's going to happen when you get stuck? Well, how are you going to stay on track? Do what's easy first and then build on top of it. Because if you make it so structured and so rigid that you don't even want to do it, you won't. That's it.
True. So. Classic brain science. You gotta lay out the pebbles before you can start laying down the rocks. Yeah,
absolutely.
Awesome, man. Well, I do got to run now because we got stuff to do, and we would talk all day.
We would. All right, Bill. I'll see you in the morning.
All right, see you tomorrow.